Welcome to Running in the 70s, where we interview, meet, and get to know athletes of all kind who were running in the 70s. I'm your host, Matthew Kleinowski.
Today on the podcast, we are back in New Jersey with a guy who's still involved in running, organizing races. He had a great career, national championship, marathon record that stood for decades, and a bunch of crazy adventures. A lot of people who met him probably remember him. Now, there's a little bit of thing here. If you haven't met, this is not Robert Scholl. Robert Scholl, unfortunately, recently died, an Olympic runner, but Bob Scholl from New Jersey. Welcome today on the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's tell everybody your origin story as an athlete and as a runner growing up. Where'd you grow up and how did you get into competitive sports and competitive running first?
I'll try to make this short. I grew up in Bricktown, New Jersey, or as we call it affectionately, Brick-tucky. And I went out for a chess club and chancel players and a few other things. And I said, I got to add another thing to the yearbook. So I went out for football and they didn't put me at where I thought I was fast. They put me on the line. I said, that's all right, at right guard. And then I said, I'll just get my name in the yearbook and then I can quit. But the first guy, first string, he quit. The second guy got hurt. And I said, holy schmoly, I'm going to play. So I quit too. The next thing I went into running track. I broke a hurdle, bent up the high jump bar and I ran off the track in the 800. Finally, cross country came around and guys in the front of the bus acted like wackos. And I said, you know what? I can beat them. And one by one, I picked them off from the last man on JV and the second man on varsity. I would have had them all at one more meet.
Let's just talk about that beginning. That's high school.
Yes.
You were second man by the end of your senior year?
Correct.
Okay. What competitions were you in? How much success did your team have? Did you travel? Did you get to regional or higher level meets with your team?
They were really good before me. And then when I joined, not a result of me, but they were state champions, group 4, which is the toughest group, for 5 or 6 or 7 years in a row. And then I joined, they were like second or third. And I didn't go to a lot of big meets or anything like that. Ran up in Cortlandt Park, which all the New Yorkers up there. And I didn't do too good. I was pretty bad on the hills at the time. I was 13th in the state meet, but no accolades or anything. I just went home and that was the end of that until I got the coach.
Yeah. Let's talk about then just what it was like. Shoes, training, your coach, same coach who coached those state championship teams. So he knew what he was doing.
Right. And it was exactly what I needed really as a motivator, not a disciplinarian. It was perfect. One of these guys that, puts the hat on backwards and brings out his pipe. If you're doing great, pipe goes down on the ground and the hat goes off and you see him going back and forth. And that's perfect. I don't need a guy yelling at me or telling me I need what to do more for 40s. I need a motivator. So that worked out great for me. And the same thing at college.
Let's just finish off high school. So at the beginning, and you're like, I want to beat these guys. So personal motivation, competition, drive. Did you get a medal? Is that considered all state, 13th in New Jersey then?
Yeah. I don't know why. Was no big deal to me. I was like, okay, it seemed like the whole world was getting medals and I'm just one of the many, so like it was no big accomplishment for me.
What year was that, your senior year? And what was the most mileage you ran during high school?
1968 and not a whole lot. Back in high school was like any other high school where they had to do games and you have to do all this wacky stuff, little relay races around the outfield and all that kind of stuff, just to keep you going. So, and I was like, all right, that's the end of the whole thing until I got that call from a coach at college.
Before we talk about what you thought your future was and what kind of student you were in high school to outlook on going to college, what'd you know and what did you pay attention to with the world of running? 68 was an Olympic year after you graduated.
Right.
We had 4-minute milers coming out of the woodwork. What was it like for you then?
Yeah, I wasn't really right into the whole running scene hardly at all. I ran a couple of races in the summer at Lake Takanassee and Long Branch. I was not that big into it. And back in those days, where I lived in Herbertsville, part of Bricktown, it was all dark. So I remember once in a while running, and this is true. I almost stepped in, and a possum had his mouth open, and a deer I almost ran into, or they almost hit me. So it was wacky time. It was very few cars, very few lights, and I was like so about running, really.
What was your grades and kind of student were you in high school?
Oh, see at best. And they didn't improve. That got even worse when in college until my number was 40 in the Vietnam draft. So, and they were up to 125. So I said, you know what? I better start reading and studying. So it went from D's and C's overnight to B's and A's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it seems like it wasn't a capacity, it was a level of effort there. But so you're in high school with these grades that aren't really having colleges come knock at the door. Did you
Right.
plan to go to college and how did you get into college?
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking of college, but I know what was going through my mind was C's and D's. And a guy that lived a mile away who was on the team, the guy that I was going after, actually, that in the last meet, he was coming out from Malone, and a coach out there said, "Hey, why don't you get a ride with them? Come on out, take a look at us." And a couple of different universities, don't call us, we'll call you. Trenton State, McGorkle said, "Billy, you don't have what it takes to be on our team." And Malone was just like super friendly. They are friends, Quaker. And so I was like, man, I'll come here. And then it just fell in love with running and the coach, and like I said, perfect for me, motivating. And so
What do you think he saw and what was your attitude of what you were going to be able to do in college as a runner?
yeah, that's a real good question. I don't think I was really that much into it. I knew that this was the sport that I was going to do the best in. Like I said, football was a little pretty scary about being on the front line. I knew I was going to get hurt. I beat up pretty bad there. And I was out after Dilly, who the guy that I said at the last meet, the guys in the team. And I said, let's see what happens. And then they fell in love with the coach, the track, the cross country course, and all that kind of stuff. Everything just fell into place.
Did you get a scholarship?
$60, which is airplane fare out, not back.
That's
So,
great.
and I had pretty cool national
Yeah.
defense team, which is on your need. My father had just passed away, and we didn't have a whole lot of money in our household, so we got money that way.
You're now 10-hour drive almost from home.
Yes.
How was it landing as a freshman there and changing to college level training and a new
What-
coach?
And that's a good question too. I think he was perfect. I don't know if he listened to us, but he said, "What do you guys want to do today?" And a bunch of guys that I looked up to, and these are cool guys. Actually, I was pretty much a nerd in high school and a wallflower, and then going to college, I was, Mr. Big. That was even before I did all my stuff in track. He would ask us, "What do you guys feel like doing tonight?" And that was a first. And we said, maybe some long distance. All right, go out and do 10 miles today. So it was a nice, but Rick Horton, who used to train with Dave Waddle, we were all very competitive. So we just kept on pushing each other. That's how we get better and better and more into it. Yeah.
Well, when did you go from 13th level in the state? And when you're competing at a state meet on a good day, who knows what could happen a month later? There was definitely talent that a coach saw. And when did you rise to competing on the Malone circuit with your local the teams that you guys competed on? How successful were you freshman year and onward?
It's pretty funny because we beat up on teams like Fiddling and Defiance and Cedarville, who they're almost people around here never heard of them. And same thing with me. I'm like, who the heck are they? And like cross country, we thought we were going to do great. We were last in the country and
At nationals.
and nationals.
Yeah.
We're dead last team. And then I didn't come to really excited about running until track. And the mile record was pretty easy. It was 4:24, and I set that which was high school time. But it was pretty cool to get college record, and I got a little plaque and all that kind of stuff. So that got me motivated pretty much.
So back then, do you remember anything about going to nationals? There weren't qualifying races, right?
Yeah, yeah, we won our district. Ohio, yeah, NAIA, small college.
Okay.
And like I said, we expected great things, and we did terrible. So I don't know why I was so excited. Here I am at nationals. I was first man at the mile mark. and just about every single person passed me. So yes, went out a little fast.
How'd the coach and you and the team deal with that then? Losing
Oh,
and getting your butts kicked.
that's another good question. I think everything was real quiet. I just flew home, and that was it. And okay, we have track to look forward to, and running cross country again next year. It was no big deal. I think this coach too. They pulled him right out of the hallway. Said, "How would you like to coach cross country track?" So it was all new to him, new to us. So it was. Let's see how we do next year. So it was. Let's see how we do next year.
Yeah. How did you do next year?
Second from last, which was a step up.
Unfortunately, college is only going to last 4 years, so you didn't have to do it one step up at a time. You did have really good success your
Yes.
senior year at nationals and on the track. College distance then, what was the national NAIA distance there at the beginning of the 70s?
In cross country, yes?
Yeah.
Oh, was that 10,000 meter? I know it was a long way. It's either 5 miles or 10,000 meter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't remember my time. I just remember that we had trained like crazy people to do good finally. We thought maybe we were placing top 10 and you were reading off the people, top 10, starting at 10. You didn't hear our name, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And finally we're like, oh, geez, another year of finishing last. And finally you go, in first place, Malone. We didn't even know we won. And we were all looking at each other. We were screaming and yelling. It was great. It was a great moment. Yeah.
This is fun to talk about. So we've got a national championship cross country meet,
Right.
and there's no electronic scoreboard.
No.
What happened when you crossed the line? How do you know what place you were in, and how was that scoring taken care of back then?
Same thing like back in those days, you have sticks, what do you call those? Popsicle.
Popsicle stick? Yeah.
This is pretty interesting. This is all true. We're in the finishing chute, and all the other team members were bent over and they're throwing up. And I was like super elated because I placed, what was it? That was again a 13th. I look back and there's all our guys are standing straight up and they're smiling and they're pretty close to me. And I'm thinking, wow, maybe we did do pretty good. Coach is the only one who was really despondent. He's like, oh, we didn't do all that great. Yeah.
The race is over. All your scoring runners, at least the top 5, have come in. And you
Right.
guys have no idea what the result is.
Correct.
So let's talk about how the scoreboard didn't get put together. They just scored it among the officials and then announced it. And that's when you found out who did what. So it was a surprise. It was a surprise to Malone, surprise to other people too.
Yeah. Oh, accidentally. How do you think you guys are going to do? And so we went up to those guys and we said, oh, accidentally, how did you do? And then we found out we were first and they were not too happy with that. But yeah, and that was because they messed up a little bit on the finishing chute. It was a long time. It was at least 25 minutes, half hour until they made that announcement. So we're all standing around like scratching our heads. Then when they did make that top 10 on down, we're like, oh, okay, let's go home. We lost again. And this is interesting. Any other college, you go out and you party and get drunk. But them being a Christian Quaker school, we had a turkey dinner afterwards.
Where was nationals that year that you won it? What year was that?
Arkadelphia and hilly course, but then we had trained on the hills all year long. So we were ready. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that happen from being a team good enough to go to nationals, but finishing last to national champions? What happens in those 4 years?
I think we were all athletes that were like second rate from schools, and we were rejected by all these other schools. We went there, and then we were a bunch of friends. Plus, we wanted to beat each other. Not super competitive, but to the point where a guy falls down, you stop, you pick him up, and keep him going. But we all wanted to help each other to win, to do good. So that last year, we were stoked going into the national. We ate perfect, went to bed early, everything you have to do. That was a big part of it, I think.
Before the qualifying meet, what any other big racers that gave you guys a benchmark of where you stood compared to
No,
other?
that's funny.
The Malone Invitational was run then?
Yeah, but it seemed to me that it was high school was like the best high schools in all Ohio, but it was no big deal, as I recall. There was no Notre Dame or anything like that. So, yeah, we had no idea. We had no idea we were that good.
So national champions,
Yes.
at Arkadelphia. So that was your senior year. What had happened up through your junior year in track for you at Malone?
Track. Not too much because sometimes we were doing like events just to get points to win. Like I said, we were competing against schools back here in Jersey. We never heard of Defiance and Cedarville and Finley and Worcester. But I was also running on the relay, quarter mile. It takes me a mile just to get going from half my races.
What was your time by the end of your junior year, say in the mile?
I think I better. Yeah, I did better to do a 4:19.
4:19. Okay. Well, then what happened our senior year, things
Right.
changed a bit, quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm training really hard.
Let's talk about your senior year in track then. National championship, top finisher for the team. What did you think? 4:19 is not going to get you to the finals.
Right.
What were you expecting and how did that evolve where things changed for you?
Again, like I wanted to beat those guys in the bus in high school, running workouts. Everybody's running in a close pack, and I got tripped up a few times from behind. So what I did is, I think this is what got me into great shape. I'd start out from behind, like started doing quarter workouts, and then I'd pass everybody on the outside, and then try to beat them to the finish line. I do 8 or 11 of those. Man, that gets into great shape, and still great shape from cross country. And a few times, I don't remember Waddle, but I remember Arkin Walkington. Him over, I ran with us a few times. He was a good runner
Right.
from Bowling Green.
I've talked to Paul a while back. What was nationals like? What did you qualify for individually for and race in track?
Okay, the years passed just to get in to running nationals. I got into the marathon, and the year before I was in Billings, Montana, and almost half of it was on a butte, and it was I think in the 90s. So everybody dropped out except 9, and I was 9th in the nation.
Really?
Yeah, and it was funny. Guys in front of me, guys behind me, and finally down to one in front of me, one behind me. Hey, how many people? I said, as far as I can tell, one. And then finally, nobody in front or back. But Lucian Rosa, the first from India, first guy, they found him in the bushes. 5 minutes, they couldn't find him. He passed out and just fell over into the. But anyway, so I said that my senior year, I said, no, I'll try to get into something else. So that's when he put me in the mile. Luckily, instead of the 10,000, and that worked out perfect for me. Because I wanted to definitely make it into the finals. I didn't think I was going to do anything in the finals, but I gotta make it into the finals. So that's when everything, my strategy came out perfect. I placed top 4. And of course, as I said in my last interview, I tied Mike Boyd. And I told you I went up to shake his hand. He didn't even look at me. Because I'm sure a 4:08 is nothing compared to a guy that's a world record holder. But no, that was something to me. So I'm in the finals.
So you're running against Mike Boyd. What do you remember about this the qualifying for the final there, the race itself?
I was thinking that it's agonizingly slow for those guys, but I was running pace. And I felt really good. And I knew that their last lap, they're going to bolt because last 4 make it or stay home. And I just started to make my move at the same exact time that they did. So it was perfect timing, really. And I still held back a little. Looking back, and I wish I had given everything I had to drop that from a 4:08 a little bit lower. But then in the finals, they're running sub 4s, like 3 or 4 or 5 guys. You just stop. You hear the half miles, but you hear 1:57. You're like, that's not me.
You competed in college all the way from 440 yards on a relay to the marathon.
Yes.
You're coming out with success, All America. How was the outlook for what you were going to do with running when you graduated?
Oh, another good question. I think I just kept on running to stay in shape and keep my weight down. And it wasn't until I got to think when Larry Bova, he ran for Villanova, and actually, great decision on my part. I went to a small college. I was a big man on campus. He went to Villanova, and he was the last guy, same times. But he looked me dead set right in the eyes, and he was only like a foot away. He goes, Scholl, I would like to see you really go for it. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to give it everything I got. That wasn't until I was 30, I think. Yeah.
What did you study at Malone?
Psychology, only because I was getting the B's and A's on that. And I don't know what I was going to do afterwards. I figured it can go into anything. And of course, liberal arts psychology now is like a dime a dozen, but back then, and then plus you figure you go into social work now, it's like, better to be on unemployment than social work. But
We've known each other quite a long time through
yes,
Hash House Harriers all in New Jersey and all over.
yes.
You traveled and you did training, and I don't know exactly how. Let's talk about how you ended up in the Pacific Northwest for a while.
I worked with my parents for a while at a bar, and it was like a fight every other night, country western bikers. And she called me a son of a bitch. And I said, Mom, what you called yourself? And then my brother said, you better go now. Better go. Yeah, just as well. I'm not one guy that can beat up on bikers. I said, let me get as far away from here as I can. And that was Seattle. And then Boy Scouts called me down in Portland, and they were super nice. And I went down there for a while, went back up to Seattle, and then missed home.
And what about the training you were doing out there? There's a crazy, you're up there when the mountain blew, right?
That's when I left that same exact day. And I didn't know it. Got stuck halfway home. But that was the best training ever because I was running in what you call powdered pumice. And I had a mask on because you don't want to breathe that in. And up and down mountains. Man, oh man, talk about what a training for a couple of weeks. And then I finally made my way back home. But that's what I was doing out there, running mountains.
Were you running, find anybody else to run with? Any competitions?
No. I ran some meets when I was in Seattle, but I was like, come see, come saw. I ran one marathon. I think I placed third or sixth in the Seattle Marathon. And then I ran the Oregon, was it Tees Track Club Marathon in Portland or right outside. And Beaverton. No, not, what am I saying? That was down on, where was a Prefontaine?
They run that at the university?
Yeah, yeah. But at any rate, I showed up after the gun started. I showed up an hour late and I passed everybody except one. And of course, the first couple of miles, of course, after that, they all pass you back. But so nothing is very extravagant out there until I came home and Larry said that to me. Then I started training really hard.
What was your goal? You at that point, what was the distances and what were you after?
Just staying in shape, something to do on the weekends, and find a suitable mate yet. And yeah, it was just keep me out of trouble and pretty much just packing around until I came back home.
Yeah, so it was just something you enjoyed doing. You came out of college. Did you have some school debt?
Did not. I had a student defense loan that paid off all through schools. And the funny thing is, I became a teacher for a short time after I had paid everything off. But yeah, that's all right.
What about sponsorship? Were the races you were getting money yet? When did that threshold come that there was money for races? And what about equipment? You were just self-funding?
Yeah, self-funding.
It was after work? You were working
Right.
full time with all this training, right?
Right. And that's an ego boost, isn't it? When you get something in the mail. Reebok has sent me a little package after I won the Provident Marathon in Philly. It's a long time, but I won it. And Reebok sent me something. And then Adidas finally, after I think I won the Jersey Shore Marathon. I can't remember. But they sent me a big box of stuff. And it's funny how you give it all out to your relatives and friends and everything. And then when you start running crap, you want it all back. But it's all gone now. One thing is funny because you call these different companies, like I call Nike, and just don't call us, we'll call you. And real short. I'm like, at least let me see how it works out. But no, don't call us. That's weird. It makes you feel like.
It depends what coast you're living on with them too, and for various things of where they're reaching at that time. You had increasing success with the marathon. You mentioned a few that you won. Philadelphia was a big one, a course record that stood for a long time. Once you won a couple marathons, were you getting some cash for those? Where do you remember getting the first
Trips.
Where'd you go? Where did they send you? You'd win a marathon and they would send you. Where'd you get to go?
Only one. That was Philadelphia. They said you could check the money instead, but you only get a very small percentage of it. And then I got the guy's name off here, but he said, go to the London Marathon, try to do good, and you'll get European exposure, and then they'll all be inviting you to races. So I ran a 2:15, the London Marathon, but I didn't know it was the European Championship. So everybody kicked butt. So I was pretty far back, 43rd at the 2:15. And about at 26,000, that's pretty good. But
How long ahead of the race did you go over there? 5-hour, 6-hour time zone change.
yeah,
Did they pay for you to go over for a week ahead and get used to the time? Do you remember? Well,
And it was only like a day, and I thought I was going to save money by staying with a friend from England that I'd run against. I forget what race, but his two kids were running around all night long. I went to the race next night. And plus, that's a horrible course, I think. Some people love it, but it's on cobblestone and no good.
You mentioned Mike Boyd, not really friendly to you as an unknown guy, challenging him in a race nationals. How'd you get along with the other runners, and who were the people that you saw up till that point in high school and college? You always had a teammate to chase.
Right.
Now you're running marathons, and some of these regional marathons you're winning. How are you figuring out what to do next? Were you just against the clock then?
You know what it is? I think the same thing. I would get turned on, excuse the expression, by like Elliot Demon, a sports writer for the Asbury Park Press, who just had that big affair in Long Branch. And your boy Carl Lewis was there. That was pretty cool. I went up to him, I said, "Hey, Carl Lewis." He goes, "Dr. Lewis." But when they won the Jersey Shore Marathon, he came up to me and says, "Yeah, Bill, you got to come in this, you got to win it." And actually, it was like a typhoon that day. Not to go off subject here, but the next day he had a big write up for me in the paper. The tallest, the oldest, and the slowest marathoner in the Jersey Shore marathon history. Big headline. I guess it'll be all right. And the same thing at London. The guy said, "Go for the European exposure." Like things like that would get me excited, like to try to do a run better. That's about it, really. Just these guys. But the first time I won the marathon, the 500 marathon, some local banker that was running it, Dave Gingrich, he said, "I think you can win this" at the start, and it got me all excited. But I had no intention of actually doing that.
How did this fit in with the rest of your life professionally, being competitive and competing and running? Was that compartmentalized, or is that part of who you were? Compartmentalized.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my faults, according to everybody, is that I'm not aggressive in that and work. And to me, I just go through life. But running, I got turned on by these different individuals, or in high school, they trying to beat these guys. I said, "You know what? One by one, I'm going to pick them off." And so
I want to ask you about your involvement with organizing races. And I do want to talk about the one thing that didn't go as planned, which was your attempt for a world marathon age group record. Let's just tell the story of that race, because this was something you're staying in shape, fit
right.
for many decades, 4 decades.
Right.
And what happened there? What was the story of that?
It's a long story, but I called the elite coordinator of the New York Marathon, and I said, "I'd like to get up front because I'm going to set a world record 50 and over." He goes, "All right," because he knew my times and all. And the day came up, and I was like behind maybe 100 overweight big guys, and I was pissed off. And what's with that picture in the back? And the guy goes, "Those are policemen and firemen, and those are pictures of their buddies they lost in 9/11. They're running for them." So I passed them all on the Arizona Narrows Bridge, came around Tim Malone, who's a friend, who's narrating for NBC at the halfway point. Actually, and my wife and son are on the computer at home. I was a world record pace. And he goes, and he even said it on NBC. He goes, "Bill Scholl, world record pace." And everybody's cheering. I don't know what happened. Maybe I wasn't doing the kind of workouts that I had done in the past, but my legs just shut down. Upper body felt great.
Halfway? Where'd that happen? Where'd it shut down?
Not the Willis Avenue Bridge, Williams. Just heading into, I think, Harlem. And that was funny too, because the brothers were going, "Hey, yo, man." All the runners went that way. I said, "I don't give a damn. I'm going that way. I'm going home." They're all laughing. But luckily, they have those phones to finish on. So I called the wife and son, and I said, "I'm all right. I'm done." That was my last race, DNF. And I just walk for fun.
Yeah. I've run on some of your trails. I've managed to get lost on them, and some of those might seem like they were marathon distance when I followed the wrong path, but you've organized real races for interesting purpose. Tell me about the rat races.
I did that just for something to do, get me out of the house. And like you're saying, a few times wasn't marked very well. But the guy that was saying his name before, Dave Gringus, he was coming out with onset of Alzheimer's. So I told him, "Make sure you send the runners at this point in this direction." He went to that point, and he sent them opposite way. So I had runners from every direction of the woods and butt naked. I guess you can't see his name, but the hasher. He says, "I'm out of here," because they were all coming and they were yelling at him. So now I finally got people, a few hashers that go to spots doggy style. I can't say the rest of their names, and got on the course. And just for the heck of it, so I'm going to put out 50K. The guy said, why don't you have a nice 50K? The first year is 7 people, then it's 20 people. And now I already have 20 people registered. So it's getting bigger. And it's low key. My awards are small. My registration is 50, whereas most races are 150. And I get maybe 150 people come up, and I'm happy with that. I don't want too much bigger. And plus, I don't want people yelling at me.
It's a good way to stay involved in the sport, provide that for people that are interested, and even the ultra runners there. That's
Right.
certainly a growing community. What about any coaching or advising? Have you gotten involved in that over the years with any other runners?
I had a bitter feeling about that because the few, like I have the expertise to coach some really good people. And I said I would do it for nothing. I think you have to tell them, oh, listen, it's going to be 100, 200 a month, or they think you're no good. So people went to somebody, paid all that money, and they burnt out. And I was like, the heck with it. Cause like I said, I should have charged more, but they were friends and they were good runners. And so I just lost total interest in coaching.
Yeah, that's part of a discussion. It's coming up a lot now that coaches need to be paid more, and just to set the bar for what the value is, to just
Right.
put it, I think that's exactly what it is. And I think a lot of us over the years have done that and said, I want to volunteer and help. And today, yeah, that's not the way to go very much. Yeah, it doesn't, yeah, it's not the right psychology
Right.
for athletes to have just free coaching. That relationship's important though. You knew that your racing days were over when that marathon just went. It was a pretty senior 50 and over age group attempt. What about the change in your body for running, basically staying in shape for almost for 4 decades? What tolls it taken on you, and how did you adjust to, oh, my career's over? You said you were able to compartmentalize competition. So it's a part of your identity, but it's not a crushing blow as you compartmentalize it. But how did you handle the off ramping?
I didn't mention this. Just before that, indoor track, of course, how many indoor track meets do they have a distance medley? But we set a world record, 50 and over, and I'd run close to 5 minute miles, anchor him. And that's that. I was super late in the day. I said it, they announced the world record, and it was breathing heavy, and I could just barely get my air because of asthma. And the 3 other guys in the team were like, sure, you said you could break 5, and they were unhappy. I was like, yeah, it's not. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I spilled my guts and nobody's happy about it. All right.
Where was that? At the
Armory.
at the Armory, you ran the world record indoor age group distance medley. Wow. Do you know how long that lasted? Any
I have no
idea?
idea. Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
still tonight. Whoever runs that.
Yeah, that's great. What about your interest in the sport over the years? Like you said, at the beginning, you weren't paying too much attention, and then you were in the middle of it, certainly in the college circuit and
Right.
with the international marathoning. What about your attention to the sport? Was it something you were interested in?
I shouldn't say this to you of all people, but I just got totally out of competitive running and I really got into hashing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So some people are going to scratch their heads when they hear that, but
Yeah, most people that have been running since the 70s at least know what the hash is. And some of them have, said, oh, I wanted to try it, or they know people. How has hashing been important to you?
yeah, but see, yeah, no pressure, drinking beer, which I love within moderation, which is perfect. Nice people, no politics, no try to beat the other guy competition. I just love it. And you run into the woods on trail, and Rumson's nice, really nice group of guys.
There's somebody there who was in the 60s on the national team that ran against the Russians, George German. He's a
Yeah,
hasher. I interviewed George for this running podcast. I think I also interviewed him for hashing too. Yeah.
yeah, you go.
But it's interesting. Another competitive, very successful athlete. Hashing is a big part of his life too at this point.
Right. And when
So
she got,
maybe we can get some runners who aren't moving as fast and have changed their outlook to go find their local hash runs.
yeah, that's it. Yep, I like it.
All right, let's talk about just your awareness of the sport and how things work. In that era of the early 70s for sure, and then on up, performance enhancing drugs, not a part of distance running as far as we know. No such thing as super shoes. The equipment was minimal. If you said, let's talk about the sport today, how do those things make you feel about the sport?
You pegged it. You pegged it. Those reasons that you just mentioned are the reason why I just lost total interest in it. I can barely watch the Olympics anymore. What happened? Who's the guy with the Canadian who was won 100?
Ben Johnson?
Was that? Yeah, I can't. But I was so proud of him and a great build, and then they found out he was taking it. And plus, I shouldn't say this, but my coach from college says that pretty much there's everybody at the high levels dirty. They're just not catching them. Yeah. I shouldn't say that.
Well, no, it's all right. You know Gary Finelli.
Yeah. Yes.
I need some help from you or somebody to go put a smartphone in front of him because I recorded a conversation with him on a regular landline and
Yes.
his voice going in came out the ear and echoed, and the recording's no good. But he can tell some tales of, because he went to the Olympics in '88
Yes.
and he had people come up at breakfast and say, "We're juicing, I'm juicing."
Right.
It was very open secret then. Yeah.
He's
Um,
an individual.
Yeah, maybe I can get your help to find somebody who's near him. I can lend him a smartphone for an hour and I can guess. We had a good talk, but I can just use the transcript. Behind you, it looks like a Malone college dorm room you're sitting in there. Where are
Right.
you at right now?
Oh, this is my son's room, the computer room. And these are all autographed pictures of Star Trek and Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And of course, Christmas time, this is, as we said, Marcus and Rover Dill. I can't remember the rest of their names, but yeah, we used to be in the Comic Cons and that kind of thing.
All right, let's just go. Well, I just want to go back one thing about the Malone team, national championship team from over 50 years ago. And you're in the Hall of Fame for the college.
Yeah,
Did you guys have a reunion? Are you in touch with those teammates?
I am. And they're a really nice group of guys. As a matter of fact, I'm going in for some surgery next Tuesday. Same place for example you had. And they'll all say they listen to anything. And this is 9 hours away. Some of them even further than that. And we're close. And nice group of guys. This is great.
I think I remember seeing a picture. Did you guys go out there for a Hall of Fame or for an anniversary? Did the team get together on an anniversary of that championship?
Yeah. Yep. That we did. Yep. And like I said before, these guys, me, I love a good pint of ale. But like I'll think of soda and it's okay. A couple guys will go out, but the rest of them very low key.
Yeah. You're doing this interview a bit low key. You're a great guy. You are very generous with your time and great to get along with and very helpful and the volunteering you do at the races. So you're playing a little low key. You have some crazy stories. I'm just going to pull one last one up here. There's something to do with the pelt or the body of an animal. And I think that was out in the West Coast. Remind me what happened with that.
Icicle Ridge. And was it Icicle Ridge? No, wrong. Colorado Springs. I was on my way home and I said, let me go take a run. And I found excrement from an elk. And so I said, and track. So I follow it. And now more excrement. It was fresh. I said, holy mackerel, close. Now, mind you, I've been running like an hour straight up this mountain. So I get finally to the top of the mountain and there it is hanging from a tree, skinned. And I'm like, oh God. I look over to my left and then mind you, I had a fluorescent stripe around me so nobody would shoot me. And the guy had his rifle trained on me. He says, oh, Shiza, I almost shot you. So I'm like, so I walked up, I tried to be nice. I was so mad at the guy, but he's got the gun, so be careful. Oh, hey, son, can I have the pelt? And he goes, oh, if I known somebody wanted it, I would take better care. You go ahead and take it. So the thing is, pelts are heavy as heck. You wouldn't believe how heavy they are. So I had it in my head. I'm going down the mountain. And down, I finally get to the bottom.
And there's people in this area who are going to shoot elk.
Shoot, elk. I'm not even thinking, right? Plus, this one, now I've been running like 2.5 hours. And now, not thinking the blood is coming down from the elk all over my head. And girls are screaming at the bottom. This is Colorado Springs, probably people. And they're screaming and yelling. I'm like, what the hell's the matter with them? Until I saw myself in the mirror. So yeah, I'm lucky I didn't get pegged out myself that day. Because, hey, trying to play this. Yeah, it was a good workout though. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
No, and no pelt on my head.
Yeah. When you were training for the marathon, one last thing, let's just talk about the mileage training. Because in high school, it was do whatever. When I got to a college, 10 miles, 100-mile weeks,
Right.
type stuff. What were you doing when you were working full time? How much mileage could you do to train for the marathon?
Not too much 40, 50 until Larry said, I'd like to see you go for it. Then I was doing 100-mile weeks and I didn't have a life outside of work and running. And I was married at the time. So, she could take care of my son and make dinners and stuff like that. And I didn't have a life outside of running. So that was it.
Yeah. And you've had a lot of jobs. Well, not that you're getting fired every year, but you've had a lot of different positions. And if hashing is for majority of people, it does involve beer drinking. You were a beer salesman for a long time.
Right.
Worked at the Pentagon. I don't know. Give me a laundry list of all the different kind of things you've gotten involved with, and we'll wrap this up.
And that amazes me too, because going out in the hash, I've done a lot of good races after a hash weekend. And it's a total drinking and then they get what's faced. But okay, so well, I got a call from the Department of Defense to come work at the Pentagon. So I went down there. And then that's when Larry said, let's go compete in Europe. And then we ran in Finland and Germany and things. And so I asked the boss for a couple months off. Said, I can give you a couple days, week, maybe. So I said, all right, you can make a decision. So I said, all right, I'm out of here. And then I came back, worked my parents' bar. That's when my mother fired me. And then I said, hey, let me get out of here. And I went out to Seattle, worked a bunch of small truck driver, that kind of thing. Worked for the Boy Scouts down in Oregon, went back up, a bunch of little small jobs. Actually, it was one of the first customers. What's the big coffee company?
Starbucks?
Starbucks. I was one of the first customer for them. And then finally missed home, came home, and worked as a national park ranger, a teacher. And then finally went to work for Point Pleasant Distributors, a distributor of Miller Lite. And that's interesting. I know you can cut this off the interview, but they go, what was your last job? I said, I worked with my parents. And they go, oh, they're good business people. They pay their bills on time. They're not hit up artists. What happened? I said, my mother fired me. They go, oh, come on. And you want us to hire you? I said, it's a long story. Well,
yeah, she can't give me a recommendation. Yeah.
They understood. And 33 years at that. And that afforded me a lot of time to go running. And fortunately, and then I retired, and then I was driving handicapped kids until COVID hit. And then I said, that's time to just take it easy. Yeah, now I can't run hard at all. Just a little tiny bit because of asthma. Yeah.
It's good to talk with you, Bill. I know you as hash name is Cumbie, and you're just a great guy. You did have extraordinary success, a national championship. It's great that the team is still in touch, and good luck with your surgery. If people don't know, I didn't mention it. Yeah, I had the drinking part of my life with the hash. I did cause a little umbilical hernia from a chugging contest. I'm going to tell everybody now. I always thought it was the stupidest thing I've done. I'm embarrassed by it, but now that I had the surgery and it heals very quick, I can tell people the stupid story. So good luck with that.
Oh, wow. You can cut this out. So what happened?
In 2014, the World Interhash was in Hainan, China, and I was the MC for the event. I was on stage. So I spent the whole weekend introducing Chinese acts and helping coordinate the entertainment. They have a down contest, which is a 2-liter jug. And a couple of the usual suspects who are good at it weren't there. And I looked around and said, I think I can win this thing. So competition at age, whatever it was, 55, I'm like, I can win this. I'll drink 2 liters of beer. And the last 3 inches should have poured over my head. It felt like a knife going into my belly. And 10 years later, it really wasn't much of a big health issue, but it was an elective surgery and I took care of it. Now, I probably won't do that, but now that I got it all sewn up, maybe I can do it again.
Good. All right.
All right. Thanks for your time, Bill.
I got to go potty.
Okay.
I just made it.
Yeah. Well, I got about 3 more minutes. So now somebody mentioned you.
Oh, in a good way or a bad way?
Do you know the name Jim Mosier?
Oh, yes, yes. He's all about run.
Yeah. He said to say hi.
He's very successful. He was a good runner, maybe great.
I don't know if he crossed the country or you ran out there with him.
I ran out there.
He said to say hello. He's pretty accomplished and right. And
Right.
Finelli's also, he's like you. Usually he's just, would you follow him on Facebook?
Yes,
It's all jokes. It's all jokes too.
all jokes. You know what the cat gets when it crosses the beach at Christmas time?
Huh.
Sandy Claus.
There's a bit more to this recording, but it's all bad jokes. So that's it with Bill Scholl from New Jersey. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, I hope you enjoyed another episode. Do you have someone you'd like to hear interviewed on the podcast? You can leave a comment on the YouTube channel or on the website, running70s.com. That's running70s.com. Let me know what you think of the episodes and anyone, including yourself, you'd like to hear interviewed.
I hope you enjoyed another episode of Running in the 70s. Voices, stories, and memories of athletes who were running in the 70s. Until next time, wherever you are, keep looking forward and don't forget to look back.